Day 4 of push-ups while reading. Reading the same book because I didn't get a new book yet, and I'll get a new book tomorrow. So, 3, 2, 1. It was a beautiful day when I stepped into a Rock Bottom restaurant for a quick lunch. The place was jammed. I didn't have much time, so I was happy to grab one stool they had available at the bar. A few minutes after I sat down, a young man carrying a full of dirty dishes hurried by the way to the kitchen out of the corner on his eye. He noticed me, came back and said, "Sir, have you been helped?" "No, I haven't," I said. "I'm in a bit of a hurry, but all I really want is a salad and maybe a couple of rolls." I can get you that, sir. What would you like to drink?" "A Diet Coke, please." "Oh, I'm sorry. We have Pepsi products. Would that be all right?" "Oh, no thanks." "Oh, no thanks," said with a smile. "I'll just have water. With lemon, please." "Great. I'll be back." He disappeared. Moments later, he returned with the rolls and the water. I thanked him. He was quickly gone again, leaving me to enjoy my meal. A satisfied customer. Suddenly, there was a blur of activity off my left. The wind of enthusiasm blew behind me, and then over my right shoulder stretched a long arm of service, delivering a 20-ounce bottle, frosting on the outside, cold on the inside. "Oh, you guessed it, Diet Coke." "Wow," I said. "Thank you. You're welcome," he said with a smile and hurried off again. My first thought was, hire this man. Talk about going the extra mile. He was clearly not your average employee. And the more I thought about it, the outstanding thing he just done, I wanted to talk to him. As soon as I could get his attention, I waved him over. "Excuse me, I thought you didn't sell Diet Coke." "So Coke," I said. "That's right, sir, we don't." "Well, where did you get this from?" "The grocery store around the corner." I was taken aback. "Who paid for it?" I asked. "I did, sir. Just $1. But then I was thinking, profound and professional thoughts. Like, cool. But what I said was, "Come on. You've been awfully busy. How did you have time to go get it?" Smiling and seemingly growing taller before my eyes. He said, "I didn't, sir. I sent my manager." I couldn't believe it. Was that the act of empowerment or what? I'll bet we can all think of the time we would love to look at our bosses and say, "Get me a Diet Coke." What a great image. But beyond that, this action paint a marvelous picture of personal accountability and question behind the question. We'll go into Pacific of the QBQ in the chapters to come. But from now, let's talk about the service thinking and the choices he made. It was lunch. It was the lunch rush, carrying a full tray. He was already busy with plenty to do, but instead of using these facts of reasons or excuses to continue on to the kitchen, he noticed a customer who thought in his section looked like he needed some attention. He decided to do what he could to help. He didn't know what it was in the mind at the moment. Of course, he faced with a similar situation. Many people have asked questions like these. Why do you have to do everything around here? Who's supposed to be covering? Who's supposed to be covering this area anyway? When is management going to provide us with more products? Why are we always so satisfied? When are our customers going to learn to read the menu? It's understandable that someone would feel and think that way, especially when frustrated, but the truth is that they're lousy questions. They're negative and they don't solve any problems. Throughout the rest of the book, we'll refer to questions like these and IQs. Since nothing positive or productive comes from asking them, they're also the complete opposite of personal accountability. Because in each one, the implication is that someone or something else is responsible for the problem or situation. Unfortunately, though, they're often first thoughts that come to mind. It's a sad fact that when most of us faced with frustration or challenge or some kind of intentional reaction tend to be negative and defensive, the first question that occurs to us are IQs. The good news is that a moment of frustration also presents us with tremendous opportunity to contribute, and the QBQ can help us take the advantage of it. The moment of IQs pop into our heads, we have a choice. We can either accept around here when we're going to get more help around here. When are we going to get more help around here? Reject them, choosing instead to ask better, accountable questions, such as what can I do to make a difference and how can I support the team. The definition of QBQ is a tool that enables individuals to practice personal accountability by making better choices in that moment. Hold on, guys. Trying to fix this. And we accomplish this by asking better questions of ourselves. That's exactly what my server did. By disciplining his thoughts, he didn't ask IQs and get caught in the downside of the situation. Instead, whether he used the words or not, his actions clearly indicated accountable thinking. As what I can do to help out, and how can I provide more value. His choices made the difference. As I left that day, I gave him a good tip, as anyone would have, bouncing my quarters across the bar. Just kidding. It was the excellent tip he deserved. I returned a couple of months later, and asked for my favorite server, Jacob Miller. I love his last name. Hostess. Said, I'm sorry. Sorry, Sir Jacob. Sir Jacob is no longer here. My thoughts flew past knowing you lost my favorite server. You lost a guy who looked at me and asked himself, what can I do right now to serve my customer? I just couldn't believe they had let him get away. But I didn't say anything with that. I simply interrupted with, don't tell me you lost him. To which she barely responded, oh no sir, we didn't lose him. He was promoted to management. My first thought was management. What a waste. Go ahead, smile. Even if you're a manager, the truth is that it wasn't all a surprise that Jacob, with the way he thought would be so quickly in this way ladder of success. That's the difference. Personal accountability can make everyone win. Everyone's win. Customers, co-workers, the organization, everyone, and for Jacob beyond the tips and the promotion. I can't help but think the greatest win of all is he must, the way he must feel about himself at the end of the day. Asking better questions, making better choices, and practicing better personal accountability. Chapter 2, Making Better Choices. Soon after we moved to Denver, we discovered something we'd never seen before. Go ahead. I've been reading too long. Go ahead. Are wicked little thorns that grew in the part of the country and have what look like ears, horns, and the nose of a goat. They fall to the ground, their horns pointing in the air. If one happens to work its way into a shoe, it really ruins your day. In fact, you live in the West. It will all come as no surprise to you that we've changed more bicycle tires since moving here than during all the years that we lived in the upper Midwest combined. Serious bikers take multiple precautions against goat hits for even the thickest mountains. Each day, as we journey and unexplore the wilds of our personal and professional lives, there are virtual goat heads looking at every turn. Choose the wrong thought, and we're off into blame, complaining, and procrastinating. But the right thoughts lead us to the riches, more fulfilling life, and feelings of pride, accomplishment that comes from making productive decisions. The idea that we're accountable for our own choices and are free to make better ones is a fundamental to QBQ. Sometimes people think they have no choice. They'll say things like I have to, I can't, but we'll always have a choice, always. Even deciding not to choose is making a choice. Realizing that this is taking responsibility for our choices is a big step towards making great things happen in our lives. To avoid go heads and make greater things happen. Make better choices. The question behind the question. Now let's talk about the tool that brings personal accountability to life. The question behind the question is built on the observation that our first reactions are often negative, bringing to mind incorrect questions, IQs. But if in each moment of decision, we can instead discipline ourselves to look behind those IQs and asking ourselves better question behind the question, QBQs. The questions themselves will lead us into better results. One of the guiding principles of the QBQ is the answer. Are the questions we speak the same truth? If we ask ourselves a better question, we get a better answer. So the QBQ is asking about better questions about how we can tell a good question from a bad one. What does better question sound like? This book will help each of us learn to recognize and ask ourselves just to clear, ask ourselves, not others. They're really questions we speak out loud to colleagues or customers, family, friends, but rather ones we think in our own mind. And here are the 3 simple guidelines of QBQ. Begin with what or how, not why, when, or who. Contain an I, not they, we, or you. Focus on action. What can I do, for example? follow the guidelines perfectly. It begins with one